Hello and welcome to today's episode of Fantastic Audiobook Launch, where we are going to be talking about audiobook, which has uh, been actually doing quite a good round because it's a fantastic thriller which has been written by a prolific author, Anish Deb. It was originally written by Anish Deb in Bengali, and it was translated by Arunava Sinha, a veteran. And this book has been read by a very, very accomplished narrator, actor, Rahul Bose. Now, we lost Anish Deb this year, and he knew that this audiobook was in making and it was coming on Storytel. I just wish that he knew that his book was going to be read by such a versatile actor. I'm sure he would have been mighty delighted to know that. Well, Rahul Bose, I don't think he needs any introduction from us. He's been named or called the Indian art house icon by Time magazine. He has won very many international awards and in India too. The recent one being the Filmfare Award for Bulbul, the Netflix series. And his award winning is not only restricted to the work of cinema, he has also won international awards in the space of social justice, climate change. He's lectured on various international universities like Yale, Oxford, Cambridge on topics like leadership, gender justice, and of course, cinema. There is one fantastic side to him for which we all Indians are very proud, and that is he is the most famous face in international rugby from India. He has represented 17 internationals and since 1998. So, what a glorious life! And we are very, very happy to have him today evening to be talking about this book and also his experience of narration and much more. So, without wasting much time, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome our very special guest, Rahul Bose. Hi,
Hi,
Rahul.
Sri. Hi, how are you doing?
Very good, very good. How are you doing?
Well, I'm in Bhubaneswar. This is our national camp for the under 18 girls international. Our national team goes underway on from Monday onwards. So we're here just prepping for three national camps. In fact, one for the girls under 18, one for the men's, one for the women's, for four tournaments coming up in Uzbekistan and Dubai over the next 3 to 4 months. So just a lot of things happening. It's been a really, really busy day. Met some of the girls. Our South African coaching team is coming in tonight, late tonight. So all of that's going on because I'm a member of the Indian Rugby Federation on the board right now. And so this is stuff that all of us are pitching in and doing. So, basically looking at all the arrangements that we're making because we are determined that these will be the best arrangements ever in our history. We have been given money to pay the players. This time we've raised the money. We have wonderful sponsorships from five sponsors. So all of that is creating a what I am trying to do here, specifically in my capacity, is to build on the culture of gender equality that rugby in India is well known for, and now increase that to gender sensitivity. So, for example, with the under 18 girls, we have a female caregiver who is the intermediary between, after the girls finish training in the evening, those 12 hours before the next training session, and to be looked after and to be safe and secure. The KIIT, Kalinga Institute of Technology, is our associate sponsor, so they're staying there and looked at all the wonderful arrangements today and basically just, doing what I love, which is giving the players of this glorious sport the best experience they can get, given the fact that we are not a rich federation. But we're not doing too badly.
Fantastic. It's so amazing to see you, your cinema, your filmmaking, the NGOs that you run too, and rugby, and then you're of course the board of the council. So I mean, I think we should actually have a separate conversation how you do your time management. That should be a separate conversation sometime. If you may please give us a little time. So coming back to the strange death of Anindyasundar. So you have lived and died as Anindyasundar. So please tell us a little bit about the story. I think it would be wonderful to have it hear it from you.
You have a dog at home?
Hello.
Do you have a dog at home?
It is the neighbor's dog. I'm really sorry for that. He's not
That's
supposed to be
fine.
out.
No, no.
But yes,
It's
I'll
nice. It's nice.
put him out.
I was going to say it was nice to know that you have a dog at home. But yes, what would you like me to say about the story and how I felt about it? What
So it would
specifically?
be good to know a little bit about the story. Of course, we all know about the story, what happens to Anindyasundar. So then maybe we could actually start with how was your experience of narrating Anindyasundar story?
Well, I think that when you're doing an audio book, it's the same as when you're preparing a national camp for the rugby players, or being one of many people preparing, or when you're founding and driving to NGOs, or when you're doing a bulbul, you have to love it. I find it almost impossible to pretend to love something and just do it for money. I say almost impossible because maybe 1.5 times in my life I have tried to do that, and I failed miserably. When my heart is not in it, I just can't fake it. So the same holds true for this story. I love the story. I thought it was witty, it was sardonic. I could see it play out like a beautiful film. There was so much humor and satire. The fact that this guy walks into heaven. Heaven is like a five-star hotel lobby. There's a reception, welcome. You probably get a welcome drink, and somebody welcomes you at the gate and puts one of these Buddha beads around your neck or whatever it is, and you know how it is, and you're treated like an honored guest, and then you sit there and you have to check in, and you know they have a hotline with hell because they need to know who are the people who are going there, and it's just hilarious and it's so witty, and that all the way down to the fact that this murder mystery writer is so insulted that he doesn't know his murderer, and he's determined to find out, and he goes back down to earth despite all the protestations of the clerk in heaven, the receptionist or the front office guy in heaven who says, "Sir, please come back. You're supposed to die at 11. Please come back, otherwise, I'll be in trouble." And the journey he takes down once he goes back, because then he suspects everyone. Then he suspects everyone because now who's the killer? So everyone changes in his eyes. It's so dense and so beautiful and so full of material for comedy and satire. I loved it. And it came as a shock to me to know that Anish Deb had passed away this year. I mean, what are the chances of what? How old is he? 53?
Yeah, it was around 52, 53.
Yeah, so for him to have passed away at the time when his story is being narrated is such a cruel irony, really. And I would have loved to meet him because what a guy. I mean, and I'm going to read his other books now because he obviously has a superb sense of humor and a superb sense of irony. So I would have, I mean, so all in all, eh, I'm very happy to be here, to support it, to do what I can for people to listen to it because I really enjoy it.
Fantastic. In fact, Anish Dev was so popular for his crime thrillers and also sci-fi. That's one genre that he was very, very famous for. And yeah, we all think, I mean, the people from the industry, also from the Bengali publishing industry, we all think that it would have been wonderful to have him, to know this at least, that you read it. Coming about your experience of narration, there were many characters in some scenes. There were many characters together, and of course, you have done separate voices and intonations for each characters. It was mind-boggling, and the best part about my job is that I get to hear the first version of it. I'm the only one hearing it, so that's the joy of my life, and I was awestruck. So how and I could also figure out the very perfect pauses between the narrator's line and then the character's line taking off. So How did you do it? Like, did you already know the characters? What did you think when you were doing it? Like, just a little sharing of that experience.
Well, first of all, a reading comes very naturally to me. So I don't mean to boast. I'm just saying that the rhythm of a piece has always come very naturally to me since I was a child. I've been reading aloud, I've been elocuting, I've been extemporizing. I've been doing all of that stuff since I was a child, and I was good at it. It's the only way to put it. But when you have a piece with many characters, you have to decide how far you want to go into each person's characterization. Do you want to put on a girl's voice because she's a little girl? Do you want to put on an old lady's voice because she's an old lady? Or do you want people to imagine that, but you should just capture the spirit of that old lady or that girl? Um, and I think that if you remember, you and I had a chat about this before we started, where I said, how far do you want me to go down the characterization route? And you said, it would be nice if we could get a sense of the character, but we don't want you to put on a voice, put on a squeaky little girl's voice, because that will, if it doesn't work, it could destroy the piece. It could distract from the piece. And I agree with you. I think it's important to just have the tone right, have some kind of a, if somebody's menacing, or if somebody's not very comfortable in English, or if somebody takes time to think through his words before he says anything. Those are the things that are important. Otherwise, you don't need to go the whole hog. It could be counterproductive. So I looked at each of the characters: the wife, the lover, the gardener, the nephew, all of that. And I decided who they were, not what their voices will be, just who they were. And when I did that, the voices came automatically, the pauses came automatically, the intonations came automatically. But it's not a full characterization.
Yeah.
It's, if you can say, half Rahul and half, so you want to make it not neutral, but you want to give it neutrality with a flavor. Not too much flavor because it might distract from the book if you get it wrong.
Wonderful. And Suryakanta, my God, he has come out totally somebody else. I hadn't seen him before, but now I can see him totally. The way he speaks, I was like, wow, who's this guy? Was he in the story at all when I read it?
I
So
always
that
saw him as being, I always saw Suryakanta, who's the receptionist at 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 the Heaven front office. I always saw him as being, like one of these extremely warm, affable yoga gurus, in these five-star spas with a white kurta and white pajama, and he speaks very slowly, and everything is very soothing. And certainly, we can have a look at this. There is no problem. But Suryakanta gets flustered a lot. And so, in the fluster, how does he? Ah, I see. Oh, uh, yes, we can try, but so, and at one point, he finally says, you know, um, but you're dead. How can I send you back? So, it's one of those people who generally doesn't lose his cool, but everything that can go wrong goes wrong with Suryakanta on that day. So the poor fellow is trying desperately to hold on to his job, hold on to his reasoning, hold on to his self control, not lose his temper, all of that. So I thought that his way of losing control would be in nervousness and a bit of a giggle, but just so that he doesn't lose it completely, because I think he could have been driven to a nervous breakdown by Anindyasundar uh, towards the end, towards the middle of the story, but he manages to keep it together.
I think that has been a fantastic contrast to the whole edginess and the whole frustration of Anindyasundar. He's just desperately wanting to know right now, and Suryakanta is like, "Oh, okay, come on." So that dichotomy between in the
Yeah,
whole
Anindyasundar
story.
is very direct. I thought Anindyasundar would be like, he's very direct, like, what is going on? I don't like this. I don't want this. It has to happen my way. I mean, this is ridiculous. What nonsense! I don't believe in this stuff. So with that, and on the other hand, you have this overly polite, very gracious, very reasonable, always willing to see the other person's side of the other side of the argument. I think Anindyasundar was more, I don't care, this has to happen. I have to get this done. And of course, we see how unpopular he is with his family and friends. And that in itself was, literally his secretary, who was polite, but one of those sickeningly polite snakes in the grass kind of person who you don't fully trust because they are frustrated that they are not you, that they want to be you, but they never become you. They don't have that much talent as Anindyasundar Sundar has. So there was that also. The secretary was also a very fascinating character to play. What was his name? I've forgotten. Secretary.
The secretary, okay. But also interestingly, Trina's voice. So much thought you have given in each of this character. It so much reflects on these voices. Trina is smart, and her cleverness just comes across through the voice.
Yeah, but I could see Trina. I've met many Trinas in my life, so I could hear her voice. I know what she sounds like. I know that kind of brilliant but brittle quality in by Trina I meant men and women, but in this case a woman. There are many people who who are brilliant and brittle, who are shallow but smart, who are selfish but funny, and they can make you forget their unpleasant side with their smartness and their wit and their ability to charm. But she's an assassin, and I don't mean that in the truest sense of the word. Like, I don't mean that. I'm just saying that as a mentally, Trina has she's an assassin. She's only about herself. She goes in there and does things only for herself. If she has a lover, it's because the lover has no chance with her. She's in control of everything, you know. So that's how she likes her life. Master manipulator, supremely selfish. Yeah, I've met quite a few people like that.
Fantastic. It's wonderful to get this little glimpse of how you think, I mean, what you thought when you were narrating it. And that brings me to the question that this whole reading narration of an audiobook is such a loner's job. Like, you're one person who's holding the audience's hand in such a personal medium, everybody listening to it on their earphones, and you're taking everyone holding their hand into the story. You are the DP, you are the actor, you are the set designer, you're everything. So how would you say it is different? Of course, it might be different. The acting part, when it comes to the acting part, how, I mean, did you feel, what kind of difference do you feel when it comes to a film or reading an audiobook?
Um, I never feel I'm alone when I'm narrating. I always feel I'm in a room with friends, and everybody is settled down, with a cup of coffee or a drink after dinner, and they're sitting and they're receptive to the narration. So everybody is on my side. Everybody's supporting. Somebody's she's put her legs up on the chair and curled up there with a shawl and listening. Whoever it might be is doing this intently. So I never feel I'm alone. I never feel I have to do all this. My approach to a piece when I'm narrating is I can't. It is not as detailed as my approach to a piece when I'm acting, but it is certainly halfway there. Who is Anindyasundar? What kind of life did he have? Where is he from? What is he like? What is his? Uh, what are his main characteristics? What do we know from the script? What are his unhappinesses? What are his unfulfilled ambitions? What is he proud of? You can read so much about a character when you read the piece itself. In cinema, it's when you watch a film. Oh, sorry, when you read the script, you can get so much about the character. But to mark off those points and say, okay, this is what he is, this is what he is, this is what he is, and create a coherent human being. If a piece is written well, Then the human being emerges as you read it. You don't need to work very hard. And it happened with Anindyasundar that the human being emerged very quickly. All the human beings emerged very quickly. I didn't have trouble pinning anyone down to a particular face or to a particular, like, okay, I've met people like this, or I know people like this, or this is very plausible. That's how it's been written. It's been very easy and easily accessible to even the audience.
And narrating audiobooks have not been a new thing for you. So, in fact, I have this thing of going to your page and listening to some of your narration, which you were putting up on Instagram last year, though we don't see them much anymore now. So, could you please tell us when did you start and this audio narration, the journey of yours?
I'm wondering what sound I can hear from your end. Is it are these mice? Are these dogs crying? Now, of course, the sound is stopped, but it's a very interesting sound. There seems to be a menagerie of animals behind you.
Well, we don't live in the city, so you could be hearing a little bit more the animal kingdom than
Okay, fine.
people.
Okay, so sorry, what was the question? What were we talking about?
Your journey of audiobook
Yes,
narrations, reading
my first
stories.
audiobook. So let me start by saying, at the age of 7 or 8, my aunt used to own a studio that used to make radio and television commercials. The agency was called RTVC, Radio and TV Commercials, and it was in Kolaba. And my first gig with them was playing the part of Krishna in a radio play that Amar Chitra Katha made and brought out an LP on Krishna. And there was Krishna and Sudama. There were two LPs they made. I played Krishna and Krishna. And after that, I must have lent my voice as a kid to 30, 40 jingles and plays and stuff like that. And in those days, I think they have gradings for voices. And apparently, for my age and my type, it was a very good grade. So I do remember doing that very clearly. I remember some of the commercials, some of the public service advertisements we did against alcoholism for the government. And I played a child who's wondering when his father is going to come home. I could do it in Bengali, I could do it in Hindi, and of course I did it in English. So for me, it was, I would always do all three languages. And then, in case people thought that my aunt was being nepotistic and all of that stuff, uh, many years later, but because your voice cracks when you're 14, 15, and you don't get all, you lose interest in that in any case. But when in my 20s, Mr. R.K. Lakshman approached me and asked me if I would like to narrate the entire book called The Messenger, which he wrote. It was, I think it was his first book, I'm not sure. Of course, we became friends after that, and he ended up donating his wonderful, wonderful original cartoons of the common man for auction to my foundation, but that was many years later. So The Messenger came out in audio cassette, and there was a long 4-part audio cassette. I still have it. I still have the cover. I forget. I still. It's a long one, which Mr. Lakshman's a you know, not caricature, cartoon of, because his cartoon was the cover of the book. So that was a big challenge because that was I think a 200 page or 150 page novel, and I did that. And then many radio plays, Shiromita. I've done radio plays. I played Feluda for the BBC. Uh, I did the Golden Fortress and Joy Baba Feluda, I think. These two I've done for the BBC, and it won an award. No, not I, but the show won an award. Then I was the suitable boy in A Suitable Boy, that was done again by, it was done by John Dryden, I think for the BBC, where I played Harish, the suitable boy. uh, etc., etc. So it's always been sort of very cool international stuff that's come my way. Um, and during the lockdown, no, then I had a radio program for Radio Midday in the late, I want to say in the middle 90s, 25 years ago, called Between the Lines,
Okay.
where I would read passages from a book I loved, maybe Lolita, maybe Adrian Mole, written by, Sue, I forgot her surname, Adrian Mole, maybe, I don't know, I did about, I don't know, 6 books every 2 weeks, 26 books I did. There was On the Road, Jack Kerouac, Catcher in the Rye, Salinger,
Catcher in the Rye. Wow.
and I would
Where
play
do we
music.
get to? Yeah. Hmm.
I would play music in between passages which replicated the mood of the passage. So if
Wow.
a guy's heart is broken, I might play, but from that period also. So say Adrian Moore's Heart is Broken, I might play a song from the 70s or 80s because he was a 70s because he was a working class Beatles fan. So you would play something like Yesterday, but that's a sad song. So stuff like that. So I would play working class. I would play the Who with Adrian Mole, and I think sometimes I did the great Indian Railway Bazaar by Paul Theroux, and we kept going from different cities. So I would play songs from Hindi films. I would play journey songs.
Where
And
do we get to hear this? This is fantastic.
yeah, it was a fantastic show. I really enjoyed it, and people,
Fantastic.
it had a niche audience, but it was some of the things were so clever. The song that was so clever because the situation took was demanding that kind of song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, I played Hindi music with Abhi Na Jao Chhodkar, in the middle of because it was set in that time amongst Indian people. So I go through that. I have all of it on audio tape, I think. I don't know where those tapes are. There are 26 tapes. Because every time I finished, and it was those Maxell Gold tapes that were the best recording, etc., etc. And the radio bit guys would give it to me after every single show. They would say, "This is this one. This is this book. This is this book." I don't know where it is. I should ask. Maybe it became Radio One, and then it's been sold. God knows where it is in terms of archival stuff. But yeah,
Oh.
it used to take me 10 to 12 hours to prepare a show. I would read the book, I would find passages that would nip the story of the book without giving away the ending, and I would play
Hmm.
music in between. So there'd be about 10 passages and 10 songs.
It sounds fantastic.
It was an hour-long
This-
program. I loved it. It was glorious. I'm trying to think hard of the other books I did because then you would really understand what kind of power that adding music to it would be. That when I used to read, I used to sometimes hear music in my head when I read books.
hmm.
I automatically takes me to a world that Amitabh Ghosh's Circle of Reason. Uh,
Wow.
so yeah,
Oh, fantastic. All the names that you mentioned, Paul Theroux to Amitabh Ghosh to J.D. Salinger. Oh my God. Oh my God. But I'm getting a comment here which says, can't hear Rahul. But I could hear you very properly though. Mm, do
okay. Can
you
you? I'm just asking, and I ask people to message you right now if I am
have
audible. One, two, three. You find it.
this?
Yeah. Are you getting any feedback from people? Am I audible?
Yes, now it's much clearer than before.
Okay.
It's again gone. It's gone a little back, I guess. I mean, it was just when you said, are you getting feedback? It was coming good.
I don't know what to do. I'm on high-speed internet. I'm in a hotel.
We can't, now I can't hear at all.
Um, I'm on high-speed internet in a hotel.
I think it's the. Could you look at the speaker where if it's getting a little, uh, any kind of.
No, it's
Yeah, it's clear.
absolutely.
Now this is clear.
Well, I'll hold it in my hand then. No problem. Or I'll do it this way. Maybe I can do it this way. Let me see. 1 second. Now see, is it clear?
It is clear.
Is the voice clear?
Since I, yes, yes, it is.
Okay, so there we. 1 second. Right.
Fantastic. This is good.
Okay. Cool.
Superb.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we missed what you said, but it's much better right now. But it was going. I could feel that it's kind of getting a little fainter. Uh,
Okay.
talking about listening to stories, we would really like to know, because listening to stories kind of lends. I think this experience of narrating a story to someone else. So who used to make you hear stories, or who used to tell you stories in your childhood? Would love to know.
Both my grandmothers. My half Maharashtrian, half Punjabi grandmother, who we used to call Ajima, she narrated all the tales from the Panchatantra to us, Ramayana, Mahabharat, Akbar Birbal. My grandmother from my father's side, who was fully Bengali, can you hear me? She narrated. She used to tell us stories that she used to make up. I think about family members, their adventures, where she went one day, a ghost story. Um, but mostly my paternal grandmother's stories, and we called her Ida. She would narrate stories about other family members, which were invariably funny, which were invariably about some child doing something naughty, mischievous with some pishima, etc., etc. Aside from that, my aunt, uh, Usha Thorat, she's Tam Bram, married a half Punjabi, half Maharashtrian, who's my uncle. And she's the one who told us stories about Tenali Ram and Krishna
Wow.
Devaya. So we got all those stories we heard from her. So yeah, I mean, life was very, very interesting. Mom and dad never told us stories. Uh, Life was very interesting. And then when my niece was growing up, I used to tell her stories. Except that I had a game. I would say, think of three things. So she would say, she'd look around the room, and she would say, lamp, uh, tiger, if there was a tiger statue. She'd say lamp, tiger, apple. And I would say, I can't believe, did you say lamp, tiger, and apple? And she would say, yeah, why? I said, have I told you the story about the lamp, the tiger, and the apple? She was like, no. I said, I must have. How did you pick these three? So she'd get excited, say, no, but I just picked it like that. But I'm like, it's ridiculously amazing you've done that, because here's the story of the lamp, the tiger, and the apple. And so every night, I would ask her for three things, and I would invent a story around those three things. And
Wow.
and and if you speak to her even today, like there was a villain who had black eyes with a white eyeball, because where it's white it would be black, and where it's black it would be white, and she still remembers the visual of that. And when she used to listen to me narrate these stories, she would have her thumb in her mouth, and she'd be listening, and occasionally she'd take a thumb out of her mouth and say, Mamu, can you make it a little less scary? And then I would make it a little less scary. And then she would say, no, it's no, you can make it a little bit more scary. So she was very particular about, she would calibrate the she knew it was all being made up, but she would calibrate the story to enjoy it exactly what she wanted on that day. It was like I was cooking a meal for her while she was choosing the ingredients. So she's also a fascinating creature. I haven't met a child. I'll always call her a child. She's 24 now. I haven't met a child like her in my life. Somebody who actually stops the story and says, "Yeah, can you just add this? I'm missing this. Yeah, okay, that's better. Yeah, continue." That kind of thing.
My God, you would just instantly make up the stories.
Yeah,
So it's like a instant storytell. That means that we can just customize what we
yeah,
want.
yeah,
So you are just that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. That's so awesome. So I mean, I'm very curious to know now, of course, what kind of stories did you like to listen to, or did you grow up to have a certain kind of genre of stories that you like to read or listen to?
All kinds. I love stories. I could sit and listen to a story about my grand uncle who was trying to cross a stream uh, in the mountains. That was enough for me. I could listen to the stories of Akbar and Birbal and love them. My mind would invariably take a story and make it into a film. So
Hmm.
even when I, as a child, would narrate something that happened to me, I would narrate it very filmically. And then,
Hmm.
these people were looking and those people had stopped. And then, I stood there and it became very cold and whatever, whatever, whatever. And I think it was one of my cousins who said, "You are so filmic in your retelling of an experience." So I just loved all stories. I could see any story in my mind's eye and make it gripping and absorbing and all of that. So I was never finicky about, I want a crime story, I want a story about my uncle. I was happy to listen to anything. You see, it doesn't matter what the story is. If you have an alive imagination and if you're curious, and if the storyteller is wonderful at exploiting both those things in their listeners, then you've got them in the palm of your hand. You can tell them something about a poisonous fruit that falls from a tree. You can tell them something about, an ant that goes and colonizes your brain and builds a colony of ants inside your brain. You know what I mean? So I think in that respect, the storyteller has to have a very a very infectious and very gripping imagination. So the way the storyteller sees that story determines how well you hear the story.
Wow. Brings me to the question of listening to a story versus reading a book. What do you think listening does to us when we listen to a story?
It's a two-edged sword. If the voice bothers you, if the accent bothers you, if it seems too rushed or too anxious or too slow or too boring, then the poor piece suffers.
Hmm.
The writing suffers. So I would much prefer to read than listen. But I'm writing a script. I've been writing a script for the last 2 months. And every single morning when I wake up, I listen to a story from a
Wow.
book.
Hmm.
Anything. Could be P.G. Woodhouse. It could be Yuval Harari. It could be, I just listen to somebody speaking, narrating an audiobook. And it sort of gets my morning going. I'm listening. It's like radio, except that it's something that I want to listen to.
Hmm.
So I have Sapiens, I have Mythos, read by Stephen Fry. I have P.G. Woodhouse. I have so it depends on my mood for the day. If I want something heavy and slow, if I want something alive and entertaining, if I want something more like a radio play, so I listen. So I've become very, very, very audio because I can't read when I'm doing things, but I want to feed my mind just like that, so that when I'm writing later, it might trigger off a thought. So I love it.
Wonderful. P.G. Woodhouse is one, I think, what I've realized is he's better to read than listen. I feel that his language is so fantastic. I mean, I think, what do you think? I think in audio, it comes on your, what do you think?
No, the Nick Martin and two of the others. I think it's their names will come back to me. John Cecil, Nick Martin, very good. Especially the Worcester series that they do, very good. Yes, once or twice it has bothered me, but if you choose the right voice, then
Mm.
you can really enjoy it. But you're right. reading PG Woodhouse, he's the kind of guy when you're on a train, you can't help laughing loudly because it's so ridiculous. Suddenly, what happens?
Yeah.
You know the joke is coming, and it's so specific, and it's so PG Woodhouseian, and he's amazing. And the characters he writes: Smith with a P, Eucridge, Worcester, Jeeves, Blandings, Lord Emsworth. I mean, Galahad, Treatwood, and all of them.
All of them. Totally. PG Buddhas is one of my most favorite. Coming back to audiobooks now, like of course, this is something a very new medium for India. I would say it's growing. It's not as popular as global scenario is as UK and US. What do you think? How would it fare in our country, or is the habit of listening increasing with time?
Spectacular. India is an audio culture. We are not an archival culture. We don't write
Mm,
things down.
mm,
We are not even a visual culture like a film visual. We are an audio culture. The
mm.
radio is the staple of every single Indian household, and we treat the television like a radio. Nobody's watching the television. You're just listening to it.
Mm.
We are a the success of audiobooks, once you get down to exactly who you're targeting it to, and therefore what the book is, this is for this audience, this is for that audience, the results will be spectacular. You just have to realize that we love listening. We love listening when we are cycling through the village. We love listening when we are on our phone at night as we are the chowkidar of the building. We might be watching something, but definitely becoming more of an audio-visual generation. But
Mm.
audio. It has it. I mean, it can't it can't fail. It can't fail, especially on long journeys and things. It's a we'll see. I mean, let's see how it goes. But if you choose the right books and the right audiences and the right pockets and the right cultures in this massively diverse country, I don't think you guys can go wrong.
Fantastic. It is fantastic hear it from you. Also, knowing that you are a avid of audiobook listener. You listen to audiobooks, and it's wonderful to see so many people after since we started Storytel. There was nothing like an audiobook company when we started 5 6 years back, but it is so wonderful to also hear it from people like you who have been also doing narration for such a long time. And I must now go and find out the project Between the Lines, you said, right? Right? That was the name of the project. So I don't know. I mean, I think I'm going to do a Google search and do research to see where we can find that.
Please, if you find them, Shuromita, send them to me, because between the lines there were 24 episodes, 26 episodes in 52 weeks. So for one
Fantastic.
year, I ran the show.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rahul, for giving us this time. And I think we had a wonderful conversation and hearing so much about your childhood and your reading and your all experiences. What would be your last note for this evening to your audience?
Are we doing a Q&A? Are we not doing a Q&A? How do you want to play this?
We don't have much questions, but we have a lot of my favorite and interesting and all of those kind of comments here. So we don't have too many questions here. I think I must tell you that the whole audiobook has got splendid comments and fantastic reviews on our app.
Oh,
So I
really?
think, yeah, so it's just been 3 days. It has been consumed quite a good number of hours. So we are really, really looking forward to, having more people listen to it. So yeah.
So, I mean, I don't have any parting message. All I have is, um, for all the readers and all the listeners and all the viewers, is, don't lose your imagination, because your imagination is what makes this world livable. Otherwise, what you see outside, your head will burst in 3 days. But if you use your imagination to handle and absorb the pain and the madness and the weirdness of this world, uh, that's the only thing that saves you. That's why kids are always hopeful, because they have imagination. They're not worrying about, oh, will the world end and things like that. they use their imagination to escape into. And I find that imagination is a wonderful way of dealing with reality. Um, Reality is good in doses, but it's always better with a heavy, constant layer of imagination. So you look at a situation and say, my God, imagine if she was like that, what would this whole thing be like? And or imagine if three of them were sitting there and none of them had clothes on in that TV studio. How funny would that be? You just use your imagination. So, however you do it, whether it's an audiobook, whether it's a TV show, whether it's anything, I think for people to engage with their imagination is keeps the child alive in you, keeps hope, laughter, idealism, all of that. I think stems from a fertile imagination. Yes, some macabre and evil things could also rise from it, but generally just be stay alive to the moment. That's all I would say.
That's wonderful. And I got so flown and by the conversation, I really would request you to read a little excerpt from the book, if you may, please.
Ah,
That would be.
okay. Let me see. It's on this phone, so I don't know. You won't be able to see me, right? If I'll have to open the
Um,
text on this phone.
you could open the text if you want, and yeah, we can still see you. I mean, why don't you try doing it
Really?
anyway?
Let me
Yeah.
try. Let me see. Ah, where is it? Okay. Storytell. Yeah. I guess you can't see me,
We,
right?
I can, yeah, we can't see you though, but yeah.
So there's nothing I can do because if it was a book which was outside, I could then be holding it and reading it. But sadly, it isn't.
So this is going to be a complete audio experience, the real audio experience from Rahul Bose.
Hold on. If I was to WhatsApp this to my other phone, um, let me see. And then maybe I could read from that phone while you guys could see me on this phone. How
That
would
would be
that
good.
be?
Fantastic.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me see if I can do this.
And meanwhile, I would really ask the audience, whoever is with us, many comments here, interesting and good vibes, and congratulations. I would love for you to ask questions to him if you have any. I remember last time there were very many questions about love and all of that. So please shoot, guys. Come on.
Okay, I think I've managed to do that. One second. That's weird. One second. Hold on, guys. Sent it. Okay. No, I don't know why my manager keeps sending me the narration on this phone, and obviously it's not going to work because I'll have to keep reading from this phone. Uh, just just send it on the other number, please, Urvashi. Okay, so I'm going to get back on. It's not Zoom, it's Storytel, right? Yeah, right. Okay. At last, they've understood that they've been sending it to the same phone, and I'm not that stupid. So, ready? Are you ready?
Yes, please. Ever ready.
Okay, let's do this. Everything's going wonky, but I'm gonna try. Yeah. The Strange Death of Anindyasundar by Anish Deb. Anindyasundar composed himself with palpable effort, resuming his seat on the golden chair. He began speaking calmly. Can you kindly tell me what your register says about my profession? You were a writer of detective mysteries. Exactly. I have written 75 mystery novels under the pseudonym of Sundar Sanyal. Over a dozen of them have been filmed, not to mention numerous short stories and articles. Can you guess anything from this, Suryakanta Babu? Ah, no, not quite. You still don't get it? Anindyasundar almost lost his composure. Who am I? None other than Sundar Sanyal, the famous writer of mysteries who has been consistently asking for the past 30 years who done it. And now I myself have been murdered, but I don't know who killed me. The angel Suryakanta smiled. Ah, I see what you're getting at, Mr. Chaudhary. But the answer you seek will be available to us when the time is right. You must keep calm, patient till then. I simply have to know the identity of the murderer. Anindasundar's resolve was unshaken. Until then, I shall have no peace, no happiness. Stabbed in the back? Oh, what gall. Don't be disappointed so easily, Suryakanta consoled him. Take a look around this place. The conveniences and facilities here. Anindyasundar slumped in his chair, looked at the floor, and said, I don't want to. All the conveniences are sham. Mr. Chaudhary, lies. All lies. Peace, happiness. I have no peace in my heart whatsoever. I hate it here. You're bound to like it here. Suryakanta's voice betrayed a hint of terror. It's absolutely impossible not to be happy here because this is heaven. You are in heaven, Mr. Chaudhary. Heaven, my foot. I don't like it a bit here. Rising to his feet, the angel began to pace up and down, barefoot on the lovely marble floor. He muttered to himself several times, oh, how strange. No, this is impossible. Turning to Anindyasundar again, he said, I urge you to reconsider. I urge you to reconsider, Mr. Chaudhary. No, I do not like it here one bit. Please try to understand, Mr. Chaudhary, pleaded Suryakanta. If you let it out all over heaven that you have no peace or happiness in your heart, what do you think will happen to all the respect and reputation we have amassed? I mean, Indra, the king of gods, will hang his head in shame if he hears that you're unhappy in heaven. I am not at peace, believe me, Anindyasundar repeated, his expression making his statement even more clear. Okay, very well, very well. Let me ask Indra, the king of gods, responded Suryakanta. His expression made it obvious that at this moment, peace and happiness had disappeared from his heart as well. Hesitating, he continued, it's just that the king is so busy. And he's not in the best of moods these days either. But he must be informed. Or else, if he comes to know that a human being is unhappy in spite of being in heaven, he'll only blame me. I'm the manager of this department, Mr. Chaudhary. As you can understand, it will be my responsibility. What can I do if I don't like it here? With a sharp intake of breath, the angel continued to pace up and down. Snatches of exuberant laughter came in through the open window, interspersed with strains of light music. But inside the room, Anindya Chaudhary's expression was grim and frustrated. I can't hear you, you're on mute.
Is so cool. This was even great watching you also doing it because we could see the facial expressions and the movement of the body. Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And Surya Kanta still sometimes goes on in my head, so the rings in my ears. I think, am I going to meet him when I go up? Is he going to talk like that? Maybe, who knows?
Well, you're lucky.
Um,
I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in heaven and hell. But it makes for great literature.
yeah, it does. Absolutely, indeed. So we have got some questions here. Uh, so Ankita asked, if given a chance, which current book would you like to narrate? Something that you're reading, maybe.
I think River of Smoke, Amitav Ghosh. That's a wonderful book with different languages and characters. That would be fun to narrate. Um, what have I read recently that I think would be great to. Mm, non-fiction is much less interesting than fiction. Um, yeah, I'm thinking maybe, people like Murakami, they're very languid. It's very subterranean, the imagination.
Hmm.
Something from Marquez would be wonderful because he has such an inventive imagination. A Midnight's Children, Salman Rushdie, it would be great.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
I would really love to listen to PG Woodhouse in your voice someday if universe allows. That would be fantastic.
You need a Brit voice for that. You need somebody with a very, very, with a handle on English accents. Not me, but I mean, I don't mind doing it, but it would be much better if somebody was from that culture, from that,
Hmm.
from that specific, or somebody who could pretend to be from that, like a Hugh Grant or someone like that.
That's true. That's true. We've got another question. Oh, which book did you enjoy narrating more? The love letters or this one? Uh, Aisha Singh also asked, what would you do if you had one day only to live? Like Anindyasundar, I think she means.
I would play a rugby game. I would eat shami kebabs with paratha in Lucknow. I would walk from the tip of Bombay in Navy Nagar to along the coast to Mud Island. I would that'll take about 5 hours, 6 hours. Then I have the meal in Lucknow, which would take about 2 hours. I mean, I'm not counting travel time.
Yeah, no, we are not.
Then I would spend a few hours with my niece and my sister because we are always, all three of us share a dark sense of humor, so they would be very, very funny. I would call the four boys I grew up with from the age of 10. Now so there were five of us, now there are only four. One of us passed away from cancer last year. And I would gather the four of us and we would do what we used to do in the summer of our childhood. We would have a Frankie or a. Uh, can you hear me? I've
Yes.
lost electricity in this five-star hotel. I suppose it'll come back. So my Wi-Fi must have gone off, but can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you though.
Yeah, so I would gather my friends and have a kid fillet roll from Paradise or have a Frankie, then go watch a movie in a cinema hall like Regal or Metro, then
Wow.
come out and walk down Fashion Street and buy something for as cheap as one could in those days and have a fresh lime soda from a restaurant. And while that's bubbling in your stomach, catch a bus home. As children, that's what we did.
Wow. That sounds so fantastic. And having friends, a group of friends since so long, like since childhood. How
Yeah, we've been
fantastic is
friends
that?
for at least, I can say, at least 40 years. And it's the
Wow.
5 of us who are now four, but they still are my closest friends. They've all married or have significant part others. Nothing has changed. Uh, we never ever gossiped as children, and we even till today we never talk about other people. Never. We've always talked about and fought about music and sport, and why this was the defining rock band of the century, and why that, and whose music is commercial nonsense today, and which hip hop writer will, and which. So today we can be talking about somebody on open mic or slam poetry, and maybe 10 years ago we were talking about somebody who was rapping, but the discussions are always about art and politics and ideologies and all of that. It's I promise you, till even now, if you ask me the exact designations of my friends, they all work in company. I have no clue. I have no clue. I have no idea how much money they make. I have no clue what they do. I have a vague idea: operations, research, aviation, banking, asset management. I don't know what asset management is. I have no clue. So and the thing is, out of the 5 of us, 3 were great actors in school. So 3 of us used to have first, second, third, second, first, second, third, first, always between the 3 of us. The other 2 were fantastic sports persons. So all 5 of us were very good at sport and many, many sports. Um, and so we kept, that thing. And then there was the acting, and there was the elocution, debates, and dramatics. And academics was far, far, far behind, although none of us was bad at it. So it was just, what I'm trying to say is that we never ever gossiped. We never spoke about other people. Yes, we did speak about the girls we liked and the girls who didn't like us, and the girls we would never get to meet again, and all of that, because all of us are heterosexual. But you know, that's talk that happens even amongst other genders. So I that's fine. But otherwise, it's still as glorious. It's still as glorious. We don't spend time going down memory lane. We're always alive. It's always today. It's always what's happening, and all their kids are also like that, and as is my niece. So it's been great. It's been great. I don't think anything has really changed.
So wonderful, so wonderful. I also have some. I'm getting many questions here. So Isha Singh also telling me he is very handsome. So I'm sure you keep hearing this. And
No, no, no,
Vidisha,
I don't. I
yeah,
don't, and I never believe it because I know I'm not handsome. I know that I'm a guy. You know what I mean? Yeah, but handsome and beautiful and all these adjectives are meant for, I mean, come on, who's handsome? I mean, Hugh Grant is handsome. Scarlett Johansson is beautiful. I mean, come on, babe, let's not get. But thank you. I take the compliment with a lot of
well,
grace.
it's coming from the eye of the beholder. So yeah, yeah. So Vidisha says, Rahul, what made you decide to take up this book?
I loved it. I said so in the beginning. Maybe you weren't listening. I loved it, and I, if I love something, then it doesn't matter how much it pays me. It matters maybe 20%. But once I love something, my managers are on this call. They'll tell you. I just say to them, I want this. You so make it work. That's it. So I really love this, and I think Shurumita chose the piece, and all credit goes to her because it really is a lovely piece. I mean, I'd do it again with the drop of a hat.
How lovely. Thank you so much. I'm having a lot of questions here also from my team here who's asking also, who's your favorite thriller writer and why? Because we're talking about a thriller genre here.
Rex Stout, who wrote, sorry, yeah, who wrote the Nero Wolf series. Uh, Ray
Hmm.
or Rai Feluda. Um, Obviously, Arthur Conan Doyle for Sherlock Holmes. Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot. many. P.D. James. So yeah, many. But there are some such fine crime writers
Yeah.
across the thing. Yeah.
And all are very different kind of crimes. Like, I'm very curious to know, this is coming from me, at what age did you read Ray? And I mean, what happened to you? Like Ray, I think we all relate with him in a different way because of the culture that we come from.
I can't
So
read
when
Bengali,
was
so I read translations.
translation, of course, but
Late teens, then again in the 20s, then again in the 30s. Just go back to those stories, effortlessly go back to those stories.
yeah, especially the
Uh,
Feluda ones. Yeah.
effortlessly go back to his films. I
Hmm.
remember watching Pothir Panchali when I didn't, I mean, I understood it, but I didn't get the beauty. I was 17. I went through his, whatever of his filmography was available
Hmm.
uh, on video in those days.
Hmm.
I went through it at the age of 17, 18.
Hmm.
Kupiga and Bagabai and all of that. I mean, he was just another class apart, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I
Okay.
think, yes. And thank you so much for giving us this time, Rahul. I think we had a wonderful chat. And
Yes.
there are many more questions would keep coming. And now it's getting into life partners and what kind of partners you would want. I think that's a question even last time we had asked you.
No, yeah, I don't have a life partner. I'm not seeking one, but I'm open to one. I'm open to a 5 minute partner. I'm open to a 3 day partner. I'm open to a 6 month partner. I'm open to a life partner. I'm open to all partners. My heart is always open. My heart is always open. And I'm not close to anything. I'm not close to anything, period. You know, yes, I will always fight against hate and discrimination and violence and,
Hmm.
all against people. But otherwise, my heart is open. On that note,
I think we lost you in between.
I
On
said,
that
on that
note,
note, thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we would want this story to be heard by as many people as possible. It's a fantastic story. Thank you so much, Rahul.
Cheers. Bye. Bye, guys. See you.
Bye.